right, good morning, Warhawks. This is Col Wilson again, episode 32 of Freeform Friday. Hard to believe we're here at episode 32 weeks in. It's amazing. But as you can see, I have my wingman here, Chief Butcher. Good to see everybody out there again. We also have some special guests with us today. Lieutenant Colonel Ray Vann, the commander of the 323rd Training Squadron, and soon to be this summer the deputy commander of the 737 Training Group. Ray and Jen Vann, we are very happy to have the two of you guys here. Jen's sporting her purple for Month of the Military Child. Really cool. So we wanted to talk a little bit today about the We Care campaign. For anybody that's been on Joint Base San Antonio for a couple years now, you've probably seen, I think this is our third iteration coming up, and it just keeps getting larger and larger. So we've invited Ray and Jen here today because they are the main orchestrators across the entire Joint Base for the We Care campaign. And it just keeps getting better and better. And it's so fitting that we're doing it during the Month of the Military Child to have some special events planned this month, specifically for our children and to recognize the sacrifices they make. But Ray, I'm just going to turn it over to you real quick, and then you and your bride, please. We know, Ray, we see you all the time, but we almost never get to see Jen. So we want to hear from both of you. But we're excited for this event that's coming up, I think, beginning on the 15th of April.
Yes, sir.
Would you mind talking a little bit about We Care? And for those that haven't, and I don't know, you'd have to live in a closet last time not to have seen the We Care campaign or not drive onto the base. Can you tell them a little bit about what it's about and what inspired you guys to start this up, and then how you're just making it better and better and how it keeps growing?
Absolutely, boss. So We Care was an event that we put together, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer, because really the brain trust behind everything that we've done came from Jennifer, and really a simplistic thought and a simplistic message that we think carries a lot of weight. For those of you that haven't been on the base in the last 2 years and seen a bunch of crazy folks out there yelling and screaming, hanging up signs and telling you how much they care about you, that all came from Jennifer. It all came from a simple question, and I will tell you that she put me under the gun because she said, hey, Suicide Awareness Month is coming. We got the holidays coming the first time we did it, and we want to get this done. And she gave me a 14-day window to convince the wing commander and the JBSA commanders that we should do this, which, because of great leadership, we were able to get in there and do. So, Jen, why don't you tell them a little bit about why you came up with this?
So I have to start this off with, we picked the coldest day that year in December. Not on purpose, it just happened. But it still brought out a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there that just want to share the message. They're just excited to remind everybody, we're here, everybody's here to support. You know, we're a family, we're a military family, and we want to be there for everyone. So like Ray was mentioning, suicide awareness was what kind of tipped it off. The numbers were growing. They were too high. One is too high. So we wanted to get out and do something. We wanted to remind people, we're here. We want to listen. And please just reach out. We figured that the signs would be a great way, just something simple like holding a door open. You know, people really appreciate those things. So something as simple as holding a sign, I figured would get the message out, just to remind everyone, we do care.
Yeah, it's amazing. So this morning, I don't know if you've seen them yet, Ray or Chief, one of the lead headlines in the AATC Public Affairs daily releases is that the Air Force is really, really focused on suicide prevention right now. And it makes sense, you know. Right now, working and living in a virtual environment, there's all kinds of studies out there that show, hey, we've done everything, you know, to try and protect ourselves for the most part on this public health during a pandemic. But at the same time, there's offsets. There's always trade-offs. And the trade-off right now is the mental health of our force, the mental health of our children being in virtual school or some kind of hybrid learning environment at best case. That's tough. And the mental health is a big issue right now. And you guys, instead of actually just talking about it and making people aware about it, I mean, you guys are doing something about it. It's so exciting. And so I kind of talked about the force, but I talked about our children too. Would you guys mind talking about the two events that you have set up here on Lackland? And then I know that it's now spreading to the rest of JBSA at Fort Sam Houston and Randolph. If you want to talk a little bit about that, that would be great too.
Absolutely. So what we envisioned, and boss 100% right on the COVID challenges for all of our families. Can't tell you the number of times I've talked to folks who have said, you know, it's just difficult to even just, you're at home all day long, the kids are upstairs all day long, their activity levels are low, their enforcement is low, they're able to get out there and talk with other children is low. So two of our kids, we have the the consummate introvert and the consummate extrovert. My introvert, boy, he loves it, right? I get to go upstairs and be in my room and not talk to people. That's not healthy. That's not good for him, right? We're trying to bring him out of that shell. Our extrovert really had challenges with not being able to go talk to his friends and hang out with his friends. So when we were last year, before COVID really took off on us, we tried to plan an event in which we could incorporate the month of the military child, the Purple Up Day here in Texas, the Purple Up across the U.S. for the military children, and get them involved because we wanted to tell them how important they were. Of course, once COVID hit the ground running like it did, it slowed down everything for us. So we had to wait a little while. We were able to execute the second one in September with mitigation, social distancing, all the normal requirements. But this year we said we're not going to hold back. We're going to fight through it. We're going to make sure that we can do something for the kids because this year has been the most challenging year probably most of them have ever faced in the normal world that they live in. Obviously, our military kids, they already have challenges. Mom and dad, they take off, they go to deployments, they work long hours. The three of us in here absolutely know that we work long hours. I have stopped telling my family what time I'm going to get home because that's not a smart thing to do. But all of us do that, and our kids are the ones that they get in there and they fight through it as well. My boys never complain at home. My daughters are often married now, but when they were home, they never really complained either. And so we want to make sure we let them know that we appreciate all the hard work that they put in behind knowing what it takes to be a military family. So all of that to say that what we brought together was JBSA across the board. All the schools in the JBSA area are going to participate on the 15th. April 15th is the Texas designated day for the month of the military child for Purple Up. So we're going to invite as many folks to all of the elementary schools as possible. Wear your Purple Up gear. Get out there and be loud, be silly, be boisterous. We've had people that are willing to volunteer for this. The top three, the First Sergeants Association, the CGO Association, the Rising 5-6, the Wings organization across JBSA, everybody's all in on this because it's important to tell the children how much they matter. So the plan is to go out to every elementary school, middle school, and high school on all three of the bases. We will do our customary hold your sign, be loud, be ruckus, be enthusiastic, tell the children how much they matter. We'll do a little cheering as they come into the building. We're also going to sync that up virtually. We'll do some sort of a live feed so that most of the schools right now are about 80% return. So those 20% of children that are still in a modified educational process at home, we don't want them to be left out. Obviously, those are the ones we want to reach out to the most. So we're going to put that on the live stream, live feed, so that they can at least feel like they're part of it as they're getting to the school area. So that's across all three bases. It should be phenomenal. We're really excited about doing that on the 15th for the kids.
So for you guys, so if somebody wants to participate, like I think it's going to be pretty pretty easy. Like you just go to the gates, right? When you see people, that's one way to do it. But probably there's easier ways to kind of plan ahead. Can you guys talk about who they get in contact with if they want to participate?
Absolutely. Right now we have Captain John Redd helping for Laughlin. There are some other points of contact as well for Randolph and Fort Sam. So all of those messages will go out with that information throughout the base.
Okay.
For our base, we will be sending out a sign-up sheet. Please don't feel obligated to sign up. If that morning you wake up and you decide this is the event for you, you will greatly appreciate it. We get as much from the messages as the people that are receiving them. The 15th, we will be at the schools, and we will start at 7 o'clock. So 7 o'clock till about 8 o'clock when they enter the doors, we will greet all the children coming in for the day. And on the 16th, on Friday, we'll start at 6:30. At 6:30, we'll be at the gates greeting everybody coming in for work. It's a fun time. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and we'll be sure to post everything out on our social media page with the 37 Training Wing Facebook, and we'll get it out there. First Sergeants will send it out through email. We will definitely get the word out on it. But hey, I just want to say thanks to the rest of the Joint Base San Antonio mission partners and commanders. Last time Brigadier General Miller and Chief Snyder were out there, I think she ended up, I saw her I had heard that she went to 3 different gates here on Lackland alone. So really cool to have the entire Joint Base coming together to support this. It's something that's really easy to get passionate about, and the vast majority of us have been impacted in this in some way. Like I said, either whether it's the force or whether it's our children. So we have, you guys are obviously parents of children. Chief, you've got 4, I've got 3. Do you guys have any stories to tell in terms of the sacrifices our kids made? I guess I'll start it off, and I'll talk about my 20-year-old son, now 20-year-old son Lucas, who we PCS'd him between his junior and senior year of high school. And it wasn't something that we took lightly. And, it's so easy for us just to say, you know what, it makes him more resilient. Because you hear that all the time. Oh, it makes him more resilient. And you know what, it does. It does, but it's hard, and it doesn't make it any easier. And also, there's, sometimes there's some scar tissue that comes along with that. And so, I moved him, and I said, and of course he was getting ready to go into college anyway, and he's doing really well at the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina right now. But man, that was the toughest year of his life, and because it was the toughest year of his life, it was one of the toughest years of my life. And so we all know when the family unit is impacted at home, guess who brings it to work? We do. We absolutely 100% bring it to work. So that's kind of my son. I just say, Luke, I don't know if you'll watch this later, but thank you so much. I love you so much. I love the other two, immensely. Claire has really struggled with our youngest 12-year-old with the virtual learning environment. Back to that point, she does not like it. She does not do well with it. It's just not her thing. And I think others probably can share similar stories, but thanks for highlighting this, Chief. Any great stories for your children and so their sacrifice?
Yes, sir. Your story actually rings very, very loud in my ears too. I had the same experience where my son, my oldest son, I have 4 children. My oldest son Jacob, we in between his junior and senior year, we uprooted him. We had PCS overseas, and he's playing high school sports and those kind of things, and his life just kind of had to. He really had to overcome some challenges and quite the adjustments in a very pivotal time in his life. But hey, he's amongst our ranks right now. He's an airman today in our Air Force. So, I would like to share just a shout out to all military families, all the military children that are watching. We really appreciate your service and thank you. I can tell you, as a dad, I can't do this. I can't wear this uniform very effectively without my wife and my children in my corner. So I appreciate, everywhere we go, right? It's probably a little easier for me because I go into work and I've got men and women that wear uniform or maybe, civilian teammates, but I've got teammates, I've got structure, I've got social structure no matter where we go, just by virtue of being a uniformed service member. But for our families, and especially for our children, right, they've got to rebuild that social structure every time. Mm-hmm. They've got to make friends in school. Maybe they've got to do tryouts again and those kind of things, and adjust to new coaches, adjust to new teachers, adjust, new friends, new circles, right? So I will say, hang in there. It's not in vain. This is a calling and an adventure, and it's worth the cause, man. It's really worth the cause. But thank you to all the military children out there that are watching.
How about you guys?
So I guarantee you that we both have 2 different versions of stories that we've had in our timeline. This year marks 28 years for us as a prior enlisted airman before I commissioned. Wow. We've been in the Air Force a long time, and we've got basically our 4 kids, 2 daughters, and 10 years later 2 sons. So in effect, we've kind of raised 2 separate families. And so when we were PCSing in the early time frames, our daughters. I think Alex went to 4 middle schools and became a 9th grader before she finally got into a high school, because every PCS every 2 years put her in a behind the curve with their schooling systems. But I guess I'll let Jennifer tell her part of her stories, and then I'll say my part.
So I think this is great. We have a story that is actually really in line with what you both have said. So Gabriella, our oldest, we PCS'd her between her sophomore and junior year. She was settled into Minot. She loved it there. We all did. And when it was time to move, that was the first time we ever got pushback. She decided to tell us we were ruining her life. And so we felt bad. We felt bad. There was nothing we could do, and we weren't going to leave her behind. We stay as a family unit as much as we can. So when we got to Cheyenne, Wyoming, it took her a little while to settle in. Mm-hmm. She settles in, goes to college, and meets her husband, Philip. She now has a daughter as well, Isabella, and we remind her every day how we ruined her life. Yeah. Because it was the best. Her sister stayed up there with her to go to college as well. She graduated early, which did so much for a mom's heart, because to leave girls together instead of we moved away from them. Our boys actually are very, very quiet. Joshua and Jacob have enjoyed every move so far. so far. So we're hoping to keep that up. But
yeah, it's not so hard when they're younger, right? It's those high schoolers and even middle school a little bit, but it's really the high schoolers. So yeah, well,
it's
you know
funny, it's funny that Jennifer's side is that positive spin at the end, right? That's Jen in a nutshell, right? She's always looking for the positive in what we do, and I think that keeps our family strong. And that when our daughter told us, "Hey, you ruined my life," Mom took it as a, "Hey, we're gonna get through this and fight through it." Dad took it as a, "Oh my God!" And the whole time I've had my kid, I've never heard her tell me I'm ruining her life. We moved her halfway through her semester, or half a year as a sophomore, and so the light at the end of that is that I get to say, "Hey, but you met your husband, you met your future teammate, and go to college here." But
that's kind of the hazard, though, right? That's my point. Is like in the end, it always is fine. It always turns out well. They're always better for it, but that doesn't make that process in between hard. It makes it incredibly hard. So yes, I've ruined someone's life too. My 20-year-old, we ruined his life at one point, but again, he's doing great now. And yours is doing great in the Air Force, and you guys are doing great in college, and as a mom, as a wife. So it's amazing.
She actually became I can't say we probably ruined too much of it because she joined the Air Force as well. She's a captain of SC Warren right now. She's also an ICBM missileer.
I think you told me this. Congratulations.
So it's kind of neat to know that both of them graduated college, got married, had their children, and are doing good. And at the end of it, I do believe they're stronger for having gone through it, but you're not kidding, boss. During that time period, man, there was a lot of sleepless nights for us.
Yeah. Well, so we talked about family and we talked about children. I think it's probably the right time to mention that we're having our big spring event coming up on May the 1st. It's the 37 Training Wing Carnival, and I said the 31st. I'm sorry. It's on May the 1st. May the 1st, our carnival, it'll be our spring event. It'll be a social event. It will be, of course, all public health considerations. We'll make sure that everybody's safe. We were really successful on doing these. We had a great Halloween event. We had a senior NCO induction. We got really good at doing these things, and then unfortunately numbers kind of around the nation spiked around the same time. We went back up to Charlie, HPCon Charlie, but now we've gone back down to HPCon Bravo Plus, which is essentially kind of the same state that we were in when we tried these events and the social events to begin with. So it's going to be socially distanced. It'll be outdoors to the maximum extent possible. But we have 2 POCs around the wing. If anybody's interested in volunteering or being a part of it, Major Oselnick and Tech Sergeant Gibson. There's flyers out there. Look them up if you want to participate. We've got a strong turnout of volunteers going so far, and we've had really positive feedback. So again, we'll be safe. But you know, we gotta definitely take care of the mental health here. It's a huge focus in the pandemic, and even outside, it's always going to be a concern. So we look forward to doing that. So Chief, we had a chance to do, and you guys continue to jump in. I love having you here. We had our all calls this week, our commander's calls. We had a series of over the last couple weeks 5, and this week we almost finished them off. But we had some really tough questions as we went along. Man, the Q&A was great. We had some Slido questions that went out and really got a lot of feedback. And I enjoyed it. I really appreciate it. I think we still got to follow up with BMT, but I had a good event, a good time with it. One of the things that came out of it, the last commander's call, was that Colonel Baird Newsome, after I think 39 years of service, is starting out his career. I think it was in 1982 here as an Airman Basic. Now is going to retire here as a colonel. In the same location, and so we look forward to that. not to have him retire, but we just look forward to the event. It encapsulates an amazing career, and so congratulations, Bear. And so to the BMT Airmen that we didn't get a chance to talk with, we'll follow up with you here in a couple of weeks and be able to do that. So. Also, other things that are going on across the wing, we had an award winner that was announced this week. Miss Rhiannon Brown, who was recognized, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to read it, with the AATC 2021 NAACP Roy Wilkins Renowned Service Award. So that was a huge deal. She's also one of the big leaders in the Diversity and Inclusion Award that the 332nd Training Squadron over in DLI won as well. So congratulations to her. Huge accomplishment there. And then finally, just a note that we will be having the 2021 Virtual Drill Down Invitational. This is held by our Tech Training Schoolhouse. We are typically the hosts, and we usually have other tech training wings that come from all over the Air Force and 2nd Air Force to participate and show us their skills when it comes to drill and ceremonies. Unfortunately, this year, just because of the travel and some of the ongoing pandemic challenges, we'll be doing it virtually, and it'll be more of an exhibition versus a competition this year. But we look forward to doing that on the 30th of April, thanks to the 37th Training Group and our Tech Training Schoolhouses for putting that together, and look forward to all those that are going to participate being a part of that too. So I think that's kind of the big things that are going on around the wing. Brittany, did we have any questions this morning that came in? We've had a ton of questions, by the way. Chief, we had a lot, like I said, we had a lot of some really good questions, some tough questions. I just want to remind everybody, you can always ask questions using our Warhawk Solutions. That's always a good way to get questions in. But for the Commander's Call questions that we had this week, we will post written answers. And there were a number of issues that came up. I think we answered a lot in person, but we're just never going to get to all of them. So we will post those in Warhawk Solutions as well. So
yes, sir. We're going to go with the two questions that we had discussed this morning. The first being, we are interested in force development. How do we get in touch with someone at the wing level regarding the Training and Development Council?
yeah, so Chief, do you wanna try and tackle this one?
Yeah, there's actually a couple good POCs. Mr. Joe Sarita, our wing executive director, he's also the chair of the Warhawk University, our Training Development Council, but also Master Sergeant Christina Royal, and they're great POCs. We have a few other folks in there too, team leads within. I know Captain Guyton is one from IAFA, and Captain Ford is another team lead in there too. So those are great POCs for you to reach out and get in touch. But also, I mean, we've got, we're trying to link up to Warhawk University out there where our QR codes and everything are too, so that you can kind of just scan and see what's on the calendar. But
yeah, big hats off to the Training and Development Council. Warhawk University is now the formalized program where we have groups and squadrons from throughout the wing that are hosting professional development events. We've consolidated them all into a single calendar, a single schedule, all under the guise of Warhawk University. You just go out to the QR code, you scan it. It's on a flyer that's out there. It's on our staff meeting slides every week. It's in the Hawk Talk, and when you scan it, it'll take you to the schedule. To that end, also I just want to mention during the commander's calls, we, like I said, we had questions out there. One of the questions was, what's the best way to communicate with you? And so loud and clear Hawk Talk, I think, was Hawk Talk in email format is a good way to get it out. We're going to continue to use Hawk Talk, and that QR code, if you go into Hawk Talk, you can see there's QR codes all over the place, and that's a good way to get into the Training and Development Council Warhawk University schedule. Also, just on force development, if you're a civilian, we had a lot of discussions on civilian developmental education, civilian force development. What I would say is talk to your senior, the senior civilian in your organization when it comes to civilian developmental education. And if you are interested in those opportunities, if you're not sure, who that is, you can always, again, just as Chief said, reach out to Mr. Joe Sarita. He's our executive director. He is a senior civilian in the 37th Training Wing, and he is all things civilian developmental education. Again, in the global, it's Jose Sarita, but Joe Sarita, here, our executive director. Reach out to him if you're interested in that. Military members, obviously your chain of command, your supervisors, your squadron commanders, your superintendents, just use the same resources that you traditionally use,
Hey, you can always reach out to me as well.
Yeah, of course.
I'm very passionate about professional development.
Absolutely.
And, hey, I'm on the wing level, right, at least for a couple more weeks. So, Master Sergeant Cody Fleeger and myself, Chief Master Sergeant Gregory.Butcher at us.af.mil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those events have been pretty phenomenal. I know I was able to pop in on one of those about the Great Power Competition discussions that they were having. They had quite a few, I think it was 33, 35 folks join in that discussion.
That's great.
And it's fantastic. They get to talk about things that are important to them as far as development goes. That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that's one of the focus areas, obviously, right now. The Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Brown, has talked about Great Power Competition and National Defense Strategy 2018, talking about our adversaries. And so there's a big effort right now, big movement afoot here in the 37th Training Wing to talk about those things. And so there's a very nice schedule that Major Brandon Kowski, who's your Director of Operations, right, has put together. He's very passionate about that. And so those are, I think you're going to see those things migrate into Warhawk University when it comes to professional development as well. So excellent, excellent. So Next question.
Yes, sir. Question number 2 is, what is the Air Force's next step regarding the racial disparity review? Will Hispanic Airmen also be considered in the review?
Yeah, so great question. We talked a lot about the diversity inclusion and kind of the next steps that the big Air Force are going to be taking. They released back in December, round 1, the Inspector General's report that came into racial disparity. It was focused on African Americans and 2 different factors. One was senior leadership positions and the constituency of African Americans in those ranks. And then the second was military justice and discipline. So that was the big focus. We won't get onto a lot of that here just because of time, but that was what the focus areas are. Phase 2 now is addressing exactly what's been asked of this question, which is we're going to be looking at Latinos and Hispanics, going to be looking at Asians, gender inequality, and then just some other things that I think tie back to the first phase and the first survey that was taken. So the answer to that question is yes, and I think it's ongoing actually, or if I don't know if it's started yet, but that's the next planned release. So on that. So do we have any other live questions?
No, sir. We didn't have any this morning.
Okay. Well, great. Well, so I think we've probably gone about 30 minutes anyway, I'm guessing. Yeah, so, hey, thanks, everybody. Really enjoyed seeing y'all this week. To the parents of our trainees, we had another, I think, 655 that graduated yesterday out of the 322nd Training Squadron. Hang in there. We know that everybody's just itching and dying to get back into that graduation. And so as we continue to see the pandemic addressed and we continue to see the COVID positivity rates go down, we are absolutely looking at as close as we can when it's safe to start bringing family members back and allowing our trainees and our airmen, soon to be airmen, access to their families. So that's something that's always on our mind, and we know that it's on your mind because we get that question almost every single week. But at any rate, thanks you guys so much for coming in and being a part of Freeform Friday. Thanks for what you're doing for our airmen, and thanks for what you're doing for our children. We really appreciate it very much. You're not just talk, you're action, and I love that. So at any rate, that is Freeform Friday, episode 32 in the books. More hot string to win.